I'm Benjamin Gorman. I'm one of the co-publishers at Not a Pipe Publishing, along with Viveka Sheeran out of our New York office. This is Not a Pipe Publishing's Independence, Oregon office, which is also my house. and so I'm going to be watching the chat. And so if you would like to read during the open mic section, if you would type in your name and the title of the poem, and that way we can call you out in the same order that you signed up. So please feel free to add your name there. Let's see. You can also write any questions for the three of us there. And then we'll do a Q&A after the open mic, time permitting. So please don't feel obligated to stay for that, but if you're interested, we'd love to do that. Let's see. So thank you all so much for coming tonight. I'm excited to hear your work and to hear from Lydia and Zack. I'm a little freaked out about sharing my own poetry, but one of the cool things that we're going to try and do tonight is share one another's. So I'm looking forward to that part as well. We'll each take a turn sharing a few of our own poems so that you can have the poet's voice in mind. And then we're going to each read one of each other's so that you can get a flavor of what they might sound like when you experience them as a reader. Speaking of which, before we start, I want to thank our sponsors and encourage you to purchase copies of our books and the books of any of our open mic presenters via these independent bookshops. So if you are tuning in from somewhere far away, it could be a fun little geography game to think about which of these might be the closest to you. If you are in, for example, South America, then Books on B, located in Hayward, California, is the closest to you. And so I'm going to put the link to that one in the chat.
Ben, I can do it.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, so Books on B is on is in the Bay Area. And if you are north of the Bay Area, but anywhere to the west, like say if you're joining us from Alaska or Japan, then the Never Ending Bookshop in Seattle is one of our co-sponsors. And I will post the link there. You just email the owner, Annie Carl, and let her know what you want. She can get you anything you need. Another is Third Place Books. And so that the Third Place Books in the Seattle area. And then if you are in between the Bay Area and I suppose all of the East Coast, if you're to the south, then King's Bookstore in Tacoma is south of Seattle. And so King's Books is going to be there in the chat as well. So you can find your independent bookstore and support them. We encourage you to do so. And then we'd also like to thank Portland's Ars Poetica and the Oregon Poetry Association and New York's Writer in Town. It's an organization that promotes writing events. And so thanks to all those groups for helping to bring everyone here together today. So now I'm going to introduce our first reader. Our first reader is Lydia K. Valentine. I have known Lydia since 2015. We took some classes together at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. In addition to being a poet, Lydia is a playwright, a dramaturg, a teacher, a librarian, a mom, and a member of an enormous family by blood and adoption who seemed to all come out for her book launch party. It was a huge party. Her collection, Brief Black Candles, kicked off Not a Pipe Publishing's Thankful for Poetry Month. It's an incredible book dealing with how it feels to be Black in America, a mom of Black children in America, sexuality, love, beauty, and so much more. I cannot speak highly enough of this book or of Lydia's talent, but I want to share a bit of one of the blurbs. This is from the poet Banu Kapil, who writes, "In Brief Black Candles, Lydia Valentine attends with passionate velocity to questions of survivability, remembrance, and the creative art of living a fully human life, even in context and conditions that work against that what it could be. Reading becomes a mode of witness, haptic, revolutionary, and unflinching. This is a powerful debut collection by a poet who does not and cannot, in this time, in this place, look away." That's my favorite of the glowing reviews because she got the word haptic in there, which is perfect for that. So guys, gals, non-binary pals, please give some muted claps and snaps for Lydia K. Valentine.
Yay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out. Happy belated Thanksgiving if you celebrate. Happy Indigenous People celebration also. I'm going to start with actually the poem that was just quoted in Banu's blurb, Speaking in Tongues. I'll share my screen so you can follow along. Speaking in Tongues. This is dedicated to the families of Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, and too many others to name. When they come in this time, in this place, Namular socialists aren't first. The strange flotsam jettisoned with guns, garbage bag nooses, metal-lined vans, and more guns are named Amadou and Oscar, Trayvon and Michael, Sandra and Tamir, to hashtag say the name of a few. In this time, in this place, our rage-full voices spill out in protest, but the dam you fashion from concrete blocks of denial, detraction, disbelief, disinterest stops the viscous swamp of our agony from reaching you. While you watch from the banks of privilege, we wade in water as thick and ropey as clotted dreams. To live while Black, to marry who we love, to use the bathroom, to keep pipelines out of ancestral lands, to escape landmines, genocide, and other thieves that steal children and grandmothers. We wade in these systemic waters, trying to have the breath to live, the peace to live, the freedom to simply live. Our light bright to midnight skin warps and prunes. The water stirs and pulses with our voices, our steps, and pushes against your concrete impassivity. You look away and begin to consider. Blustery defensiveness stalls progress, but you begin to consider the sandbags you've stacked and keep on hand to righteously protect your position. But now, in this time, in this place, now the shore deteriorates beneath you. You who stood so certain, so safe before. Now you reach out your hand, hoping to share in our buoyant resilience. Now you speak out in confusion and fear, beginning to imagine the torment of drowning by degrees in the sputum of ruptured justice. You remind us, no, scold us, that movements are stronger when we come together, even though the barrier between us was built by your hands. And we are asked, no, admonished, to disregard that dam and the damning consequences of your past silence, even though the raw meat smell of our children's blood clings to both. Forgive and forget slithers smoothly from transgressors' tongues. You present these nonsense syllables as if you're an oracle of the divine, but your purpose, your ploy, is far from holy, I know. Still, I will raise my hand from the chest-deep depths I've forcibly come to know. I will reach across the rough concrete of your ignorance and help you stand in your new waterlogged reality, in your pool that barely reaches the knee. I dare you to call yourself a survivor. Thank you. All right. The next one that I want to read is called Mama. Mama. As if the sound means forever, I hold her name humming on my lips, like desperate spasms of hope in newly pinned butterflies. There's weight to it, that name she lived, for us. She carried it where hope writhed the hardest, in her womb, her breast. Tethered and unacknowledged in that space of expected sacrifices. Kids don't know a damn thing about the wounds they make and leave when they no longer make us their homes. They don't see the residue of our insides, coating their outsides, painting them as our lost appendages. They don't understand that in some ways, sly cancer coils that burrow and bide are gentler than phantom pains of loss. Hope atrophies, calcifying even the lightest wing, shriveling the most obstinate strength, until forever is nothing but powdered grief, ashes on my tongue. Thank you. Ben, I think is that all of my time? You're muted.
I'm muted. Oh, and you heard the dog bark. I think there's time for one more if you want to do another. And now you're muted.
All right, the last one I'll read is called If I Speak in Tongues of Mortals and Angels. The echoed clang of my keys in the door wakes no one. Specters from the past never sleep, ever. My shadow stretches, as desperate as a charred wick, reaching for the stream of smoke that thoughtlessly severs their prior bond. Using the harsh illumination, intruding from the curbside to reach out toward the wispy figures lurking in half-forgotten words.
Oh, love that so much. Thank you. Let's see here. Let me go back to... Oh, if you can make me the host again, I can see my script again. There we go. Okay, and don't worry, everyone. We will get to hear more of Lydia's work tonight when we read one another's. So that's a cool addition. I've known Lydia since 2015. I've known Zack for 36 years. So we were both the new kids in the same second grade class when we transferred to our new elementary school in the same year. Zack's life has taken him all over the country: law school in Boston, bar owner and music proprietor in New York, attorney in Oakland, California, and now a poet who has captured something very powerful about our country in this collection, 21st Century Coastal American Verses. Zack Dye's journey hasn't just been geographic. As a Mexican-American and as someone who clambered up and down the socioeconomic ladder essentially at will, Zack has seen this country from different angles few get to compare. As Eliza Strickland, the senior editor at the IEEE Spectrum, wrote, Zack Dye's poems channel Walt Whitman if the American everyman had been writing more often from a place of blazing rage. With verses that can encompass both the immensity of time and the wonder of a jelly donut, Dye's collection speaks to our struggle to stay human in a pixelated world. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, please give some muted claps and snaps for Zack Dye.
Hi. I hope everyone is well on this Saturday. I feel very honored that I was allowed to work with these two poets, and that I have other people who were interested and willing to spend time with me on a Saturday reading them. I definitely, I have a rage problem. I see a counselor about it. We talk about it once a week. I work on it, but you know, the poetry helps. I like to push boundaries and force issues and be very frustrated at, I think, what many of us perceive as a very frustrating world. That said, I am big on jelly donuts. I got on the scales this morning, and I'm really big on jelly donuts these days. So, you know, I'm going to go with some jelly donut poems. I figured it was a real pleasure and introspective chore to go through a variety of poems and come out with these, and I appreciate that process, and I appreciate the trust that everyone that participated took in working me through that. And with that said, I'm not going to go toe a bunch of lines here on a fine Saturday night. I'm going to start with a poem called Mammals. I woke up on the wheel today. The ride isn't so bad some days. Sometimes on a Monday morning, I get up and eat a piece of cheese. Maybe I grab some crumbs in the kitchen. I don't get too full. I save that for later, because after I get to work, I have to worry about other things. Sometimes I get scattered. People ask me lots of things at different times. I lose track. Luckily, they remember to feed me in the middle of the day, the food is put out. We all come to the same place. We nudge and bump each other as we fill plates of food and go back where the wheel needs spinning. The afternoon is spent finishing simple wheels in need of simple spinning. Eventually I get tired. Everyone else gets tired of their wheels at around the same time every day. And then we all get into our cars and drive home to get up and do it again the next day. And keeping in that theme, I didn't really get the chat function to work super well this evening, but I think I know where everything is. I'm going to move on to a poem called Monday. This is a sequence of haikus. The computer screen, blinking over and over, is repetitious. The television, many rainbowed images drawing me closer. Like art exhibits, pixels play upon my mind, dancing on canvas. Irises spring forth into imagination where spirits won't rest. Eyes are prisoners, witnesses of weakened men, blinking only once. Thanks. And I move on to a shout out to my dog, although I think I'm so clever drawing parallels between the dog park and our lives as humans. When you hear me read it, you'll be like, God, that guy's so motherfucking clever. Can't even stand how clever he is. Here we go. Leashes. My dog gets so excited when he sees his leash. It's that thing that keeps him from being free. He'd rather be outside with that thing on than inside cooped up all day long. I wonder what our leash must be, where even just a taste of whatever it is so sweet, like in love or imagination, where the thought is enough to occupy the mind for hours. Like gods tied to their own omnipotence and limited by only the greatest forces. The greatest joy anything can really have is the one it can never quite grasp. All right, and now I offer an homage to Ben. Ben was very instrumental in me being part of all of this. I showed up on his doorstep last summer and said we should do something together or write or something. And I spent a week working on what became that Shout anthology last year, and was also encouraged to work on the poetry. But while I was there, I wrote a poem titled Independence, Oregon. Green fields, like emeralds, where the ransom for a day's peace is only a deep breath. The trees run across the ridge like that same squirrel's tail, the one who wanted nothing to do with you. Sunlight spackles the clouds, and the hues of blue come and go in the passing shade. From beneath such pillows, briefly escaping the bright of day, sanctuary from above, the hills roll into the switchbacks down the mountainside, where gravity accelerates everything. Pulling the axles and the wheels into position along the curved road takes more concentration than it's worth. Steering a car is a matter of survival, but it can be quite restrictive. Staying inside the lines is such an ingrained skill, you hardly notice what it might be like. If our scientific boundaries permitted us flight or excavation, we might not need such constraints, such that we might soar over land and tunnel through the earth. Alas, these are not our talents. Nevertheless, there is some world of imagination where the jade and amber hillsides touch upon a dream. Here in the sanctuary of space and freedom can lines blur into a cascading wave of emotion. For words to matter, the brain must indignantly connect with this earthly reality. Yet among the clouds and the leaves, the spirit can soar, not like an animal, but instead deified. The elastic nature of the universe is always reluctant to reveal itself, but when the irons are shed, one might pause and feel the freedom of one's outstretched arms unbound, capable in any space when one finally arrives here in Independence after having traveled from anywhere else. And I have one last one that I like very, very much. And so I feel like it's a good one for me to end my work on. Let me scroll back to it. It's about that which I lack, am in tremendous lack of, am really lacking. I'm trying to say this without ending in a preposition too. But it is about patience, and I do wish I had so much more of that. But here, if I had the patience of a billion years, I'd watch the mountains strong and still knowing they're fragile and insecure. I'd swim the oceans and their vast mysteries, knowing their future puddles. I'd see the sunset, tantalizing and serene, knowing that even a star has growing pains. I'd look into the wild eyes of animals, knowing their spirits return to the universe. I'd see the earth spray rain and wind, knowing it's just talking back. I'd stare at the moon spinning round and round, knowing it will eventually spin out like a tired top. I'd stand by a man and know that the evil in his heart is just a mere rash on his soul. I'd stand by a grave until the soul escaped and the gravestone crumbled. I'd stand with statues and obelisks, waiting till they fit neatly in my windowsill. I'd stand underneath the largest trees and water them like my very own flower garden. I'd stand next to my friends and enemies until we all reached a common goal. I'd stand with my love forever and ever. Thank you very much. That is my set, as they say, but I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very cool. Okay. I'm up next. Let's see here. How do I
I can
fix
do
this?
your, do you want me to do your intro?
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So I will introduce Ben so he doesn't have to introduce himself. He already mentioned how we met, and I've also seen him at many writers' conferences and things like that. Of course, I follow him on Instagram. He is very much a person who is truly an activist, I can say, an active activist and ally. And something that Not a Pipe Publishing stands out for was when they took on the year of publishing only women, because women weren't being represented very much in the publishing world, and Not a Pipe Publishing committed to a full year of just publishing women, which was pretty fantastic. Ben is a novelist with 4 novels out now. As a high school English teacher, he teaches about poetry all the time, but he didn't write it very often until a few years ago when his life turned upside down. His collection, When She Leaves Me, tells the story of that shock through to the beginning of healing. As the poet, I hope I get this right, Armand Tolentino wrote, "When they leave me is a field of wildflowers that blooms after raging fire scorch the forest." These poems not only refuse to let sorrow and destruction have the final word, they are in fact only possible because they are born from that charred past life. In this collection, Gorman shows us how, when we damn near break our necks for years trying to salvage a life, it's only in letting go that we are truly saved. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, please give some muted claps and snaps for Ben Gorman.
Thank you, Lydia. So I'm going to share one before I share screen. So I'll share one where you can just hear it. And then I will share screen for the others, because I do think that visually there's something to those. But this one is just the prologue to the book, and I think that it sets the scene. I am no Prospero, freeing Ariel from one bondage and locking him in another, or Faust calling up Mephistopheles and entering into negotiations. Your chorus is more like Odin, making the first people from ash and elm and naming them Ash and Elm. Not very creative this time. I have drowned my magic books. I have only honesty. Our characters, the couple I conjure, were married for 19 years. Happily, I thought, when she announced she didn't want to be married to me anymore. She made this confession in Costa Rica. Costa fucking Rica. When I was trapped in a hotel room 4,359 miles from comfort. So I made the mistake of sharing it with the world. Back home, after we started meeting with the divorce attorney, I begged. She decided to stay. I unannounced. But I worried, so I started writing poems in secret about my fears, hoping they would never be read because she'd stay. Spoiler, you're reading this. So this next one is the first that I wrote in that time period, Shipwrecked. This was first published in the Wallowa Journal, so shout out to those nice folks who included this. Shipwrecked. Once in the land of Ekravid, a man found himself chewing on fish bones he'd plucked from a pile of ashes on the beach. He stared out into the blue under blue under blue and thought of his son across the sea in need of a father, and all his supportive friends and the inappropriate, sometimes amusing support from strangers, like the two laughing boys riding a camel who invited him into the desert to forget, or the woman who showed him a picture of herself kissing a different stranger and didn't explain why, or the turtle who had surfaced while he clung to the broken mast. The turtle had said he would be fine if he could only get to the beach beyond the sunset, because that's where baby turtles come from. It made no sense to the man, but nothing did. So when the three mountains peeked over the horizon, he'd followed the turtle's directions, but the beach was empty. And all the strangers shouted kindnesses from a great distance about the beauty of certain parts of the land of Ekravid, places he could not reach, and no one rescued him. He thought about the storm while he chewed the bones. She had come upon the boat so quickly, striking with lightning, sinking with efficiency. You cannot be angry at storms for being storms, or at ashes for tasting like ashes, or at innocent fish consumed by long dead fire. And the next one I'm going to share is Dig. If I can find it. Dig can be a noun when referring to the place where the digging is done. I have become a dig. I must go deeper and figure out what is left of me under the rubble. First, it's mostly manure, so many lies plopped unconsciously but still steaming, and then stone, the foundations of systems of pressing down to level, so many 90-degree angles I didn't push against. And then more stone, but made of the corpses of shells, the homes of ancestors so small their failed marriages are mercifully forgotten. And then a heat and pressure of molten iron that could be all this anger, but also love, just waiting to break the surface. And then I'm going to share. This one is the one that I particularly wanted to share on the screen. I'm looking forward to the moment when it clicks for you, and I think that seeing it will help. This one's called She Says He'll Be Fine. She says he'll be fine. She attempted to relieve my concerns about our son's chillier, cavalier attitude that underlies his steelier withdrawal when she plied me with her anticles for my alkaline worries. At first, I believed her replies about his resilience. The homilies she supplied I thought were salient, stories of earlier families who have rallied when sullied by similar marital alienation. And he has not confronted us with contumelies, but remained the princeliest complier, while my normally brawly mood grows uglier. But now I believe the likeliest situation is that his ebullient demeanor is like flies who overlie the oiliest spot in some lilied pond, waiting for a timelier moment to explode into panoplies of gallied flight, to take grislier action, to fill their bellies on the blood of some fleshlier passerby before buzzing off to earthlier environs. He has every right to be snarlier, and this right multiplies daily. I consider the milieu in which he lives, all the lies she has told. Lies to me, lies to him, because she lies to herself. And I think it's a good idea for one of us to worry about him honestly. And the last, so that you kind of get a sense of the arc, is the last poem in the book. This one's written for all of you. To the audience across the lawn. You see it. A pillowcase with dried salt stains, a t-shirt with darkened armpits from that family hike, a sweatshirt with snot on it. Is that at the height of her nose where I held her while she cried, or on the sleeve where I wiped my nose and disgusted her? Both. And it gets worse. pants with dirt on the knees, and is that manure on the thighs? Yes, we planted many gardens. And those sheets, that's clearly vaginal fluid and semen. Yep, that too. And baby puke and baby food and those little baby cereal puffs that melt to goo under and between everything. Disgusting. Believe it or not, that was the best part. You see it and wonder, why would he hang such dirty laundry out to dry? For you. This is for you. This is a life. The messes and stains aren't the sermon, just the scripture. The lesson is hiding it kills it. So let your stains sing, make your messes shout. When you love, grab that hand, even when yours is clammy, or dirty, or dusty, or defiled. It won't be cleaned through contact. It won't be baptized. It will be sanctified. So if anybody has any, again, if you've got any poems you would like to share with us, make sure to put your name and the title. But before we do that, we are going to each read one of each other's. And I think this will be a really cool experience to hear these. So let's see. First, we're going to start with Zack. Zack, you want to take it away?
Yes. I will take it away. This is a poem called Dawn by Lydia Valentine. Light flickers from the doorway, cutting through the cottony pull of sleep that clouds the room, a guilty fog. You slipped away in silence, untangling our limbs with the prolonged carefulness of a soldier in a minefield, and I let you think I was asleep, allowing the obligation of words to slide away as easily as the others. Through the crack in the door, I watch you shave off the prickle growth that goes unchecked when we're together, erasing the weak from your face, each scrape a prayer for absolution, beads of blood welling in a nick of atonement. I catch your eyes in the mirror, but you blink me away. Do you think of her as you wash the smell of me from your hands?
So
Thanks.
cool.
Thank you, Lydia. I appreciate
Yes.
that. I like that a lot.
And Lydia, you're next.
Right. So I am reading from Ben's collection. Sorry, I just have to get the right image. I'm reading Lawn Leftovers. Ben's collection really resonated with me in a lot of different ways. I think the way that he wrote about the weaving together pieces of a marriage, it really demonstrates the way that we can make our own myths and the things that we convince ourselves of and the things that we don't see until we are forced to see them also. Lawn leftovers. Sometimes you get tired of having a lawn, or the lawn gets tired of you. Don't focus on how that rejection feels. Accept it. The lawn is tired. So you rebuild with old planks, failed projects, unfulfilled plans, and a layer of peat, lawn leftovers, and then black plastic trash bags, detritus and mourning, and then topsoil, mostly shit, and then holes, aching and open and vulnerable, and you plant a garden. It's too early to say it's beautiful, but if it grows, it will be better. Maybe. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. And now I'm going to share one of Zack's. This is one of the ones that just jumped out at me when I first read this collection. It's one of my favorites in a collection where there are lots of favorites. This is Stethoscope. What am I going to do? How is this going to work? I have twisted the cement blocks inside my head until they shrivel like chicken wire against the electrical fence gauntlet that I throw myself against daily. Such Promethean heroism contravening pressure with the zeitgeist, or have I an even more pretentious and Dimsdalian approach? Said maybe such a bunch baby red letters that I use to color the makeup of my existence. The twisted crimson waves of that pulse upon the wakening lucidity only obfuscate the problems of my silly, simple ebb and flow, archaic mess in the muddy tide pools of the very simple ongoings of my heretofore, here to from, here to hence, and so forth. I cannot afford to waste time, and yet it is all I do. It is all I do. Stop me, stop me. Oh, stop me if you've heard this one before. Here's what I thought. Like, in the here and now and in the here and how, the asshole upstairs will not stop stomping around like his bitch ass is better than the rest of us, and me and my fucking belly aches hurt. They fucking sting. And then in a drunkenness, the thing upstairs pours cocktails into the septic tank, and you and I lap them up, and still it stinks. He thinks the mess of a world where her frustrations are the whiskeys that sting my tongue and spill my soul. They are the motivations that reap the worlds of my attention, and the selfish praise that is heaped upon the waking of the populace. It is only wasted breath, as is the most usual of wasted breath, as is wasted breath which is breath. To do right upon right, doing right of some ordinary script. But still there is the mysticism, there is the unknown of the wanting to know of something. How long must this desire persist in the epic reach, dare, dream of glory hog, forthright fuck you-ness of the gods dying and praying, of what the needs of hunger are, to the point that there is no concept of right? How far will mercy? How far will you take mercy? Militant questions about dying donkeys in deserts, and what did you do to feed the needing monkey of a mule who wanted to know what is, what is, what is, what was, to know the was of wasing, and being to the point of just an existent to satisfy that was. And then there are bare the bottles, the meanness, the things they would teach me in the kneading of the night. Somehow, the sounds of a keyboard clacking and numerical innovations of something that might matter seem like they would feed the need to be needed. And yet, I am the lonely man who cannot stomach the necessary definitionalizing of necessity. There is only is and the gone of goneness, and the problems that scream in between are not my problem. Not my problem, not my problem. There is only these rationalizations that peace may be beyond human comprehension. In that frustrated poverty only epitomizes our incomprehension, then love, then no, then sex, then no, then child, then the essence of certain beauty and all those images of important longings. Simple thoughts and pathetic regret, the mirrors of those thoughts to repeat the same mistake over and over again, that the ship is righted to hate and love, of course acknowledging the general mistake of the heartbeat. I love that poem. Okay, now that brings us to our open mic section. But again, I want to remind everybody, if you've got your own books to plug, please write that in the chat. And folks should look for them at Books on B, The Never-Ending Bookshop, Third Place Books, or King's Books. We want to encourage you in this time to support independent bookstores. So let's go back through, and this is your opportunity to unmute. And so next up is going to be Karen Eisenbray.
Right. I'm going to read a piece called We Agree on Ice Cream. To my one and only, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Please don't leave me. You use words like betrayed, but it's not like that. I'm doing the best I can with what I have to work with. It isn't personal. I'm as confused as you. Please don't hurt me. I'm your one and only. Hey, I don't make the rules. I'm your heart. You're my soul. My eyes see your world. Your thoughts give it meaning. My ears hear your music. Your words speak with my tongue. Under the skin, fat, the muscles and blood, the parts you don't want. I'm a skeleton, just like everyone else. You like skeletons, right? So funny when they dance with a hat and cane. You taught me that. I would never have known. Maybe love is too much to ask, but please don't hate me. We agree on ice cream. Mine the sweet, the chill, the creamy. Yours the choices, the combos, the joy. We agree on dancing. Mine the motion, yours the art. We agree on roller coasters. Mine the G's, the visceral thrill. Yours the rush, the release. Even if one of us threw up that time. Okay, that was me. But you were the one screaming. See, we have all that. We're a team. If you want to make changes, let's talk. Whatever keeps us together. We're not our name or our parts. Because without you, I'm meat. Without me, you're a ghost. Or maybe nothing. Do you want that? I don't, not yet. I want we to be I. Love or whatever, your body.
Okay, and next up is Carrie. Carrie Hakan, and the poem Tree is Me.
Tree is me. The squirrels claw and climb the maple. I rarely spot one in the madrone. The maple provides them with many seeds, broad leaves to linger under, trunks and branches whose skin is thick enough to dig into and hold on. A young maple grows outside of my front window. I greet her daily. Baby talk the squirrel in her branches. Awe at the hummingbird that takes cover among her leaves. Down her trunk, I run my hands, over rough knots, smooth lines, and lime green moss like unwanted hair in the branch forks. On the other side of the street, the madrone stands fabulously alone. Nothing wild approaches her branches. Nothing looks for reprieve under her sleek leaves. I run my hands along her smooth trunk, trace her paper skin curls with my fingers, draw in her sweet, warm fragrance. I stand with them often, wanting my roughness to turn smooth, to display curls instead of moss. I also want the squirrel and the bird. Under the maple and the madrone, I can be me. All three of us breathe the same breath. Thank you.
And next up is Trina Gainan. Hope I pronounced that correctly.
It's always a bit of a risk with a last name like that. Persephone. Names of flowers escape me, yet the scent of carnations triggers memories. Sunshine playing in pink petals. It used to start in late September. Words like geranium and nasturtium slipping away until crocuses pushed up through late snowfalls. My memory clung most tightly to those in bloom as I left for darkness. fires of wine and bronze chrysanthemums, fuchsias weighing heavily on the end of long stems, each corolla sheltered by sepals, stamens dangling from the corolla. Only a novice would be ignorant of magical appellations of each. Swing time, Alba, Seventh Heaven, Lady in Black, Dollar Princess. So many lovely names. Blossoms that greet my return require the burial of bulbs before the first frost. Daffodil. Demeter would offer their names when again I stood upright in sunlight. Winters passed, and on my returns, I looked at a flowering vine, thought lupin, before finding the word wisteria. My return to the world above, where language moves to the passage of sun and moon, is hard, gets harder with every cycle. Why accuse me of taking away the flowers when summers grow hotter and winters last longer? You do this to the earth in my absence. How can I be expected to name plants appearing in the wrong place, flowers blooming and leaves falling in the wrong season?
Thank you. That was very cool. Thank you to all of our readers, to Carrie and Karen and Trina. Those were fantastic. Do we have anybody else who wants to read? I hope I didn't miss anyone.
Ben, I'd like to read.
Go ahead. Thank you.
All right. This one is called Holding On. I was told the roof is new, as is the thick, dark paint on what I think are cedar shingles. But the chestnut into deeper November has still only given half its gift, put much of it into gutters I've yet to get on a ladder to see. Instead, I watch today's heavy shower make the house sloof a curtain of water. It pours over the picture window that last week took a bird strike. It was a woodpecker, white chest, dash of red to its crown. Afterward, it lay in the mulch, eyes blinking, heaving breath through its feathers, looking dying toward dead, then, after a few minutes, got up and flew away. You and I, or just I, took it as a sign, when all the news warned of portent, inviting what to believe about men and weather, what to trust in all that might no longer be true, what in the future will. In this moment, though, inside this house, standing, all there is to do is exactly what I was doing, listening to rain thrum and not knowing. Thank you.
That's very cool. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'd like to read.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sorry for the noise in the background. It's called Where Did You Put It? I have these forgetful friends, their house a hodgepodge of lost things, projects gathering dust and the odd slumbering cat. Their hectic life and personalities culminate in clutter. It's endearing in a way, how you must play hopscotch between patches of uncovered floor to get anywhere. Sometimes I am overcome with the urge to tidy, and I clean the kitchen, or the table, or the well-loved mishmash of video game consoles. They are so grateful for my help, but it comes at a cost. They are always losing things, you see. And sometimes they blame each other, or the cat, or even grudgingly allow that they might have misplaced an object. But if I clean, suddenly it's my fault. If I didn't see it, then I've forgotten. I don't remember where I put it. But it was there, right there, in that place I cleaned, before I cleaned it. So where did I put it? Where is it? And I tell myself I will not clean for them. Not again. So simple, right? But the flush of approval and happiness that comes when I clean is so enticing. All I want is to feel useful and loved. But the blame always comes, a crash that follows each high. And worse, they'll talk to each other about it. Sometimes I'm still there. She's so forgetful, loses things so easily. Once he joked that I was a maid. This is their worst quality. And I know much of it is my fault for not stepping back, setting boundaries, putting aside the bits of the friendship that bite back. And I think sometimes, as I clean the ever-cluttered floor, that I'm not sure I can stop. And I realize, in a flush of shame and fear, that if I had a partner who hit me with words or fists and then kissed away the pain, I'm not sure that I would have it in me to leave.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, anybody else? Thank you so much to all of our readers. And so this, I will post the video of this. And so if you have been one of the readers tonight and you want to show off, you should, because those were fantastic. So feel free to share that. Yeah, I think, and we don't have any particular questions. Anybody have any Q&A for Lydia or Zack or myself?
I've got a question.
Shoot. Vivica, welcome.
When will your books of poetry be available?
They are all out now. So all 3 books are available currently. Lydia's came out at the beginning of the month, and then Zack's mid-month, and then mine dropped Tuesday. In fact, some of our readers have books too. So John has a poem in Shout. So if you haven't picked up a copy of that anthology, you can read another of John's poems there. And
Okay, thank you.
from all of the booksellers that are in the chat. So please hit those folks up. Support your local bookstore.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Yes. So thank you all so much for attending, and yeah, we will share this video out. But thank you to especially to Lydia and Zack for joining us. It was really fantastic to hear your work. So, and thank you to all of our open mic folks.
Thanks for hosting.
Sure. Folks, have a great evening. Thank you for being here.
Good night, everybody.